From the moment the new girl, Alina Hart, stepped through the tall glass doors of Ridgewood High, she felt the weight of 100 eyes tracking her like she had entered an arena instead of a school, and although she tried to keep her posture straight, clutching her notebook to her chest with knuckles turning white, she could sense that something in the air was off, thick, and judgmental, as though whispers were crawling along the walls before even reaching her ears. She tried to ignore them, thinking, it's just the first day nerves. But Ridgewood High was not an ordinary school, and the students here were not simply curious, they were territorial, especially one group, a trio known unofficially as the Upper Hall Kings, led by Brent Carson, a tall, smug-faced senior whose reputation was built on intimidation, pranks, and the silent approval of teachers who preferred avoiding conflict rather than confronting it. And as Alina walked toward her locker, bottom row, far left, the one no one wanted, she felt a sharp nudge at her shoulder followed by a mocking laugh that echoed far louder than necessary in the hallway, causing her to glance up and lock eyes with Brent for the first time, his grin slow and deliberate as if measuring her reaction, waiting to see whether she would shrink or stand tall. But Alina had been raised by parents who taught her never to cower, especially not in front of people who thrived on it, so she simply offered a polite nod and whispered, "Excuse me," before kneeling down to open her locker. The hallway went silent for one strange second before Brent scoffed loudly and said to his friends, "Looks like the new girl didn't read the rules," which earned a round of snickers. Though Alina didn't turn around, she had learned long ago that feeding egos only made them grow, but Brent wasn't used to being ignored, and that fueled a spark of annoyance that only intensified when he saw her pull out a neatly organized binder and close her locker. Without even glancing in his direction, as though he didn't exist, and in Brent's world, being invisible to someone was worse than being hated. Meanwhile, Alina walked to her first class, English literature, trying to mentally shake off the encounter, telling herself it meant nothing, but she had no idea that her silence had branded her in Brent's mind as a challenge he was determined to break, nor that he had already decided exactly where and how he would teach her the rules before the end of the day. The morning dragged on, and despite Alina's attempts to blend in, her intelligence and confident answers in class caught the attention of both teachers and students, which only solidified Brent's growing irritation because he enjoyed being the ruler of the social hierarchy, and newcomers were expected to stay silent, scared, and small, but Alina was none of those things, and that made her a problem. Lunchtime was worse, as whispers followed her through the cafeteria like smoke trails. "She's weird, she's too confident, why does she talk like she's better than everyone?" And though she kept her head high, eating alone at a corner table, she could sense Brent's gaze locked on her from across the room, his anger simmering, his pride bruised in ways he couldn't explain, and his friends egging him on with phrases like, "Dude, she totally disrespected you," and "You gonna let a freshman do that?" Until eventually he slammed his soda can on the table and declared, after last bell, "She learns the rules," the words sending a ripple of anticipation through his group. As they followed him out with cruel excitement, by the final period, Alina was exhausted, not just from the schoolwork but from pretending the tension wasn't affecting her, and while she stayed behind the moment class ended to pack her things slowly, hoping the hallways would clear before she walked out, Brent's plan was already in motion. He had chosen the east staircase, the one leading down to the old science wing, a place where fewer students walked after hours, and as Alina turned the corner, gripping the straps of her backpack, she didn't notice the three silhouettes blocking the bottom of the stairs until she was already halfway down, her heart sinking as she recognized Brent's smirk, and before she could turn back, two more figures appeared behind her, trapping her in the narrow stairwell. Brent stepped forward, arms crossed, saying, "You think you can walk in here and act like you own the place? You didn't follow the rules," and though Alina swallowed nervously, she stood her ground and answered, "I didn't break any rules, I just ignored your arrogance," which caused Brent's expression to twist into disbelief before he lunged forward, shoving her hard, so hard that her foot slipped off the step, her backpack flying open as her books scattered like frightened birds, and the world spun violently around her as she tumbled downward, hitting metal railing, steps, and wall in a blur of impact before landing at the bottom with a sickening thud that echoed through the silent hall. Her breath knocked from her chest as pain radiated through her body. Brent froze for a split second, realizing the fall was far worse than he intended, but panic quickly turned into self-preservation as he hissed, "No one saw anything, she tripped, got it," before running off with his friends, leaving Alina unconscious at the bottom of the staircase, her fingers twitching weakly as the hallway lights flickered like a fading pulse. It could have ended there, a tragedy, a headline, a life broken by cruelty, but fate had other plans, because a janitor passing by noticed a single notebook on the landing, pages fluttering as if trying to call for help, and upon glancing down the stairs, he dropped his broom and sprinted to Alina's side, dialing emergency services with trembling hands. Minutes later, paramedics rushed through the hall, voices sharp and urgent as they lifted her onto a stretcher, noting bruises, swelling, and a dangerous concussion, and while she drifted in and out of consciousness, a faint memory crossed her mind, her parents' voices telling her, "If anyone ever hurts you, we fight back with the truth and the law." And as the ambulance doors closed, the world outside began shifting into a storm that would soon shake the entire school district. Hours later, at the hospital, her parents, both prominent trial lawyers, stood by her bedside, their faces pale but their eyes burning with a cold, controlled fury that only parents who know the law inside out can wield. And when the doctor explained the nature of her injuries and the suspicious circumstances of the fall, her mother whispered, "Someone did this," and her father replied, "Then someone is going to pay," already envisioning courtrooms, lawsuits, subpoenas, and a number far larger than the school had ever faced, a number that would echo loudly through television screens and newspapers soon enough. 5 million, not just for justice but for every bruise, fear, and stolen moment of her childhood. Meanwhile, the school attempted to prepare a statement downplaying the incident, but once the Harts arrived, their presence alone shifted the entire atmosphere. Calm, commanding, unstoppable, and though Brent and his friends believed they had escaped responsibility, their world was about to collapse under the weight of legal consequences, undeniable evidence, and a family unwilling to be silenced. The story was only beginning, but one thing was already clear: Alina Hart survived the fall, and her parents were about to make sure the bullies who pushed her down that staircase would never forget the price of their cruelty. And as the screen fades out for viewers watching this unfold in narration, a powerful message rises: justice is coming. And if you want to see exactly how the case explodes, how the bullies' lies crumble, and how Alina rises stronger than ever, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss chapter 2, because the battle is only getting started, and trust me, you'll want to watch every second of what comes next.